Imagine a world where capturing a moment meant cumbersome equipment, expensive plates, and professional intervention, a world where memories were precious, fleeting, and often lost to time. This was the reality before one man dared to dream of making photography simple, accessible, and ubiquitous. He envisioned a future where anyone, anywhere, could freeze life's instants, preserving the ephemeral with newfound permanence. This wasn't merely an invention, it was a liberation of memory itself, a promise of a future where no precious experience would vanish without a trace, a profound shift in human connection to remembrance. In 1888, George Eastman unveiled his masterpiece, the Kodak camera. Small, portable, and preloaded with film, it carried the revolutionary slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest." This was not just a product, it was a profound promise, a fundamental shift in accessibility. A promise that photography would no longer be the exclusive, costly domain of the elite, but a democratic pleasure available to the masses, transforming how humanity documented its existence. The entire philosophy of memory preservation was about to be rewritten, democratized for all. The public response was immediate and overwhelming. Suddenly, everyday life became an accessible canvas for memory, a rich tapestry to be woven with captured moments. Vacations, birthdays, simple picnics, all could now be preserved with unprecedented ease. Kodak film became the very lifeblood of these preserved instants, a consumable commodity that rapidly fueled an astronomical empire. Millions upon millions of cameras were sold by 1900, and the world was soon awash in a sea of personal snapshots, each a testament to Kodak's pervasive reach, its yellow box a universal signifier. George Eastman, the visionary architect behind it all, built far more than a mere company. He meticulously constructed an entirely new industry. His profound genius lay not solely in the groundbreaking technology, but in the elegant, recurring revenue business model he devised. Film, processing, prints, each essential step created a perpetual cycle of consumption and repurchase, a self-sustaining engine of memory-making. Kodak became inextricably synonymous with the very act of photography itself, its brand the undisputed global standard, a colossus of its era. By the late 20th century, Kodak stood as an undeniable titan, its dominance absolute. Its name was emblazoned on virtually every film canister produced, its iconic yellow packaging a universally recognized symbol of captured life and cherished memories. It was a company that had mastered the complex interplay of chemistry, optics, and large-scale mass production, employing over 145,000 people globally at its peak. Kodak had perfected the art of controlling the present, a present so immensely profitable and so profoundly dominant that it appeared utterly immutable, impervious to any future change. But even as Kodak comfortably commanded the present, the seeds of the future were quietly germinating within its own advanced research laboratories. In 1975, a bright, young engineer named Steve Sasson, working diligently for Kodak, achieved a monumental breakthrough. He invented the world's first digital camera. It was undeniably crude, remarkably bulky, weighing 8 pounds, and recorded images onto a simple cassette tape at a resolution of 0.01 megapixels. Yet, this nascent device represented a seismic shift, an undeniable harbinger of an entirely new technological era, a ghost in the machine. The engineers within Kodak understood the profound implications immediately. This disruptive new technology directly threatened to dismantle the entire profitable foundation upon which Kodak's vast empire was meticulously built, namely, its lucrative film and processing business, which accounted for more than 80% of its profits for decades. The very mechanism that had made Kodak astronomically rich was now on the precipice of being rendered completely obsolete by its own groundbreaking creation. A fundamental conflict had emerged from within its own innovative heart. Inside Kodak's hallowed halls, a fierce internal debate raged, a profound and costly battle between the entrenched present and the encroaching future. The film division operated as an unparalleled cash cow, consistently generating billions in annual profits, a treasure trove of stability. To aggressively embrace digital meant inevitably cannibalizing that incredibly valuable golden goose, a prospect deeply unappealing to many within the established hierarchy. management grappled with an almost unthinkable paradox: how to successfully sell a transformative future that would inherently destroy their current, immensely profitable present. The psychological fear of disrupting their own immense success was palpable and deeply paralyzing, creating a leadership paralysis. The fateful decision was ultimately made, a choice that would irrevocably echo through the subsequent decades and define Kodak's destiny. Kodak would not aggressively pursue or fully embrace digital photography. Instead, they would continue to champion traditional film, investing heavily in its improvement and marketing, while cautiously exploring digital as a niche product for professionals and a secondary offering. This strategy, born out of a deep-seated fear of cannibalizing their existing cash cow, was a slow, deliberate retreat from the very frontier they had themselves discovered, a profound moment of collective amnesia. Meanwhile, the world outside Kodak's insulated corporate walls was not standing still. Competitors, both established and emergent, began to recognize the seismic potential of digital imaging. Companies like Sony, Canon, and later Nikon, along with a host of startups, poured resources into developing more affordable, high-resolution digital cameras. They saw not a threat to an existing business, but an entirely new market, a vast, untapped ocean of opportunity that Kodak, by its own design, was deliberately avoiding. The race for the future had begun, and Kodak was conspicuously absent from the starting line. Kodak's internal digital efforts, though technically competent, were hampered by this fundamental conflict of interest. Products were often delayed, priced too high for mass adoption, or positioned as supplementary rather than revolutionary. The company's vast marketing machine, honed over decades to sell film, struggled to articulate a compelling vision for a future that its own leadership seemed hesitant to fully embrace. The very infrastructure and profit centers that had once been Kodak's greatest strengths now acted as powerful anchors, preventing it from pivoting effectively towards the new digital tide. The 1990s saw the internet emerge as a transformative force, fundamentally altering how information and images were shared. Digital photography became inextricably linked to this new global network. Suddenly, the ability to instantly upload and share photos online became a powerful new paradigm, a feature that film simply could not replicate. While Kodak owned the technology that enabled this future, its business model remained rooted in the physical world of film, processing, and print. This disconnect between technological capability and business strategy proved fatal. By the early 2000s, the writing was undeniably on the wall. Digital camera sales surged exponentially, eclipsing film sales. Consumers, empowered by lower prices and greater convenience, enthusiastically embraced the new technology. Kodak, once the undisputed king of photography, found itself rapidly losing market share. The company, which had invented the digital camera, now struggled to compete in the market it had pioneered, its once mighty empire beginning to crumble under the weight of its own past successes and its future fears. The financial repercussions were swift and brutal. Revenue streams that had once flowed abundantly began to dry up. Kodak's stock price, which had once traded at over $90 per share, plummeted to mere dollars. The company, which had employed hundreds of thousands and was a symbol of American industrial might, was forced into massive layoffs, closing factories, and divesting assets. The dream that George Eastman had built, a dream of accessible memory, was facing its own demise, a stark testament to the unforgiving nature of technological evolution and market dynamics. In January 2012, Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company that had taught the world to capture its memories, the company that had invented the digital camera, was now a cautionary tale. It was a stark illustration of how even the most dominant companies, built on revolutionary ideas and massive success, could be undone by a failure to adapt, by a fear of cannibalizing their own prosperity. The empire built on film had effectively been drowned by the digital tsunami it had itself helped to create, a paradox of its own making. The story of Kodak is not simply one of corporate failure, it is a profound exploration of human psychology in the face of radical change. It highlights the immense difficulty of letting go of what has worked, the deeply ingrained resistance to embracing a future that threatens the present. The very innovation that made Kodak a titan also created a powerful inertia, a fear of disruption so profound that it blinded leadership to the overwhelming reality of the digital revolution. Their own success became their greatest enemy, a gilded cage. The pivotal moment, the hinge where Kodak's fate could have swung differently, lay not in the invention of the digital camera, but in the corporate response to it. Had Kodak's leadership possessed the courage to disrupt their own golden goose, to aggressively pivot into digital imaging despite the short-term financial pain, the story might have ended not in bankruptcy, but in a new chapter of dominance. This was the moment of truth, where foresight and bold action were desperately needed, but instead, caution and fear prevailed, sealing their destiny. Today, the remnants of the Kodak empire exist, but they are a shadow of their former glory. The company continues to operate, focusing on niche markets and industrial printing, a far cry from the household name that once defined photography for billions. Its story serves as a powerful, enduring lesson in the relentless march of innovation. It demonstrates that clinging to past glories, no matter how magnificent, is a perilous strategy in a world defined by constant, accelerating change. The future belongs to those who are willing to build it, even if it means dismantling what they already have. The psychology of money and power is on full display here. Kodak's immense wealth and market dominance fostered a sense of invincibility, a belief that their position was unassailable. This led to a complacency, a reluctance to acknowledge disruptive threats until they were overwhelmingly powerful. The fear of losing what they had, of cannibalizing their own profits, paralyzed their ability to embrace the very future they had created. It's a timeless human drama, the tension between security and progress, between holding on and letting go, a struggle that defines fortunes and empires. George Eastman himself, a man of immense foresight and innovation, might well have been dismayed by Kodak's ultimate fate. He built his company on the principle of making photography accessible, of democratizing memory. Yet, the very success he engineered created a corporate culture that ultimately resisted the next logical step in that democratization, digital. The irony is profound. The invention born from Kodak's labs, the technology that would eventually render film obsolete, was suppressed out of fear of what it would do to the empire, a tragic testament to the limitations of even the greatest minds when facing profound internal conflict. Kodak's rise was a triumph of accessible innovation, its fall a stark reminder of the cost of fear. It shows that true leadership isn't just about building success, but about having the courage to reinvent it, to dismantle the old in order to build the new, even when the old is still immensely profitable. The world moves forward, relentlessly. Companies, like individuals, must either adapt and evolve, or risk becoming relics of a past era. The lessons here are not about photography, but about the fundamental nature of progress and the human tendency to resist it. What would you have done at that crossroads, facing the digital future they invented? If this story of missed opportunity and profound regret resonated, please leave a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the mechanics of wealth and ruin.